arm. Order, arm.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good morning. Welcome to one and all. Thank you for attending our annual Memorial Day service. We got lucky with this weather today. It's gorgeous, so thank you all for coming. Hope that your backyards aren't too swampy like mine is for all your picnics today. So I would like to start and honor someone that helped with the running of this service for many, many years, Mr. Larry Sophia. Mr. Sophia passed away shortly after last year's ceremony, and just want to take a couple seconds to honor Larry. Mr. Sophia was a retired member of the United States Navy. He served our country during World War II and was on the USS West Virginia during the attack on Pearl Harbor. He volunteered his time and effort at Lander Elementary School, serving thousands of children's lunches, and here at the City of Mayfield Heights as part of the Parks and Recreation Commission. I would like to take a moment of silence and recognize the life of Larry Sophia. Thank you. We are honored today to have clergymen and veteran alike who will be speaking here today. Among those are Father Flynn, pastor of St. Francis of Assisi Church, Rabbi Eisenberg of Temple Israel Ner Tamid, Father Klaczynski, pastor of St. Clair Church, and our keynote speaker, Mr. Andrew Bergman, a Mentor resident and a specialist in the United States Army. We are additionally honored by the presence of Mayor Anthony DeSico, Council Gail Teresi, and our city council members. We would like to extend a special welcome and appreciation to all that are gathered here this morning in remembrance of America's fallen heroes. At this time, we would like to recognize all servicemen and women, as well as any veterans in our audience. Will you please rise and be recognized? Thank you. Appreciation is also extended to the following participants: Piper Chris Merzaka and the wonderful students from Lander Elementary School who will be reciting parts of some of the great speeches of Memorial Day history from Oliver Wendell Holmes. At this time, the invocation will be delivered by Rabbi Eisenberg.
Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, God of our ancestors. Eternal God, through whose spirit and love we learn to become more human, through whose teachings and commandments we learn to become more human. Help us gain the insight to know what is good and what is true. We thank thee for granting us the sacred privilege of participating in this assembly on Memorial Day, as we remember those who fell in defense of our country and made the supreme sacrifice that we can be here today and not be enslaved. We remember those men and women who gave us the victory in order to be free. Today we honor and remember those who served and gave the ultimate act of selfless devotion in the armed services and the armed forces of our nation. We are grateful that we can live in a world and witness a world which we can further develop and repair into a world of greater peace and greater love and greater understanding. Make us instruments so that the path to thee may be known on earth, so that in our time nations, east and west, north and south, may rejoice and sing for joy in peace and in brotherhood. And together let us say, Amen.
Before we officially get started, I would like to formally introduce a new addition to the Mayfield Heights Police Department. Police Chaplain David Kern. David comes to the Mayfield Heights Police Department after his graduation in the 2016 Citizens Academy. He wanted to become more involved in the department and the community. He serves as the lead minister at Vitality Church in Mentor. He is a licensed counselor and a military veteran. Since joining the department, David has also been involved in ride-alongs. Thank you, David, for all that you do, and congratulations on being named a part of the department, city, and community. At this time, I would like to introduce President of the Mayfield Heights City Council, Gail Teresi.
Good morning. It is always a very humbling day to be here with all of you to honor the selfless service of and extraordinary heroism of all of our fallen military men and women. First, allow me to acknowledge the members of our City Council. Please stand and be recognized. Bob DeJohn, Donna Finney, Don Mano, Joe Mercurio, Susan Sabetta, and Diane Snyder. I would also like to recognize our former councilman, Howard Sonnenstein. I know Howard's out here. Paul Sharia, I don't know if I've seen Paul in the audience, and Jimmy Teresi, former councilman and current school board member. Today, across our great country and throughout the world, Americans will pause on this solemn day to honor those brave fighting men and women who chose to enter the military so every American could enjoy liberty and independence. It would be impossible to embrace Memorial Day without remembering the great price that these men and women sacrificed for us when they signed on the dotted line to serve in the military, never thinking about what their last pen stroke would mean to their lives and to ours. Today is about paying homage to all of those in uniform who died in defense of the United States of America. To each of them, we owe an eternal debt. These soldiers gallantly gave their lives for this country and for the cause of freedom. Today is the day to really reflect on what those who have fallen have given up. They gave up their own personal ambitions and dreams. They left behind families, their wives, their parents, and their children. With their courageous act, they left and may never have been able to give that loved one last hug or one last kiss. They gave words of encouragement to those left behind. They told them to be strong while they were away, because each and every military serviceman or woman had hopes of returning. So many never returned, and those left behind, you and me, their families, we are all the beneficiaries of those sacrifices. We are the beneficiaries of their devotion to duty and their selfless leadership. All of this is a grim reality for our freedom. We will always remember our World War I and World War II servicemen and women but we can never forget those who fought in the Korean War or the Vietnam War. Those who went into a war that was not our war, a war that divided our nation, and a war that took so many of their lives. Vietnam veterans fought in a senseless war, so many of our Vietnam vets returned with PTSD or without limbs, and maybe something much worse. World War I and World War II military paved the way for our life and the freedom, and our Korean and Vietnam military carried on so our freedom would remain. Today we should take every opportunity to reevaluate how we treat our veterans, because their willingness to fight in our defense deserves our deepest respect and praise. They deserve to be respected by each and every one of us and by the government of this country that they so readily served. As I stood at this podium over the last 3 years, each year I mentioned that our youngest daughter, Stephanie, was in the Air Force. She served a tour of duty in Iraq and a tour of duty in Afghanistan, all while leaving her 18-month-old son to be cared for by her husband, who also serves in the Air Force as Senior Master Sergeant Chief. Besides praying each and every day for Stephanie's safe return, we hoped that her baby would remember her after these long absences. Our prayers were answered by God, and Stephanie came home safely after each tour. Stephanie was a graduate of Mayfield High School, awarded a 4-year scholarship, and decided she was not college material. She worked in a factory, packing widgets, and she worked at our local car wash. She had no idea what her life plan was going to be. And as her parents, we had no idea what her life plan was going to be either. But today, I have to finish Stephanie's story. This past February of 2017, Stephanie retired from the Air Force after serving 20 years. Our entire family attended the retirement at Holloman Air Force Base in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Colonels, captains, majors, and other Air Force military spoke on Stephanie's behalf, giving her accolades for her outstanding, dedicated, and honorable service. Stephanie was awarded the Air Force Commendation Medal, first Oak Leaf Cluster that day. In those 20 years, Stephanie earned her bachelor's degree and her master's degree in aeronautical science. So on April 1st of 2017, Stephanie was relieved of her duty from active duty and officially retired from the United States Air Force. But if you think that we were overwhelmed with joys and tears, think again. We thought the retirement event was coming to a close when Stephanie's husband, who will retire with 30 years of Air Force service in 2019, came forward and read a poem in honor of her retirement. He read, "For 20 years, this airman has stood the watch. While some were in their beds at night, this airman stood the watch. While some of us were in school learning our trade, this airman stood the watch. In those years when the storm clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizon of history, this airman stood the watch. Many times she would look around and see her family needing guidance and help, needing her hand to hold during the hard times, but without hesitation, she still stood the watch for 20 years of her life. She stood the watch so that other families, so that we and our fellow countrymen could sleep soundly in safety each and every night. Today we're here to say, Tech Sergeant Stephanie Teresi Thompson, the watch stands relieved. Relieved by those who you have trained, guided, and led and inspired. Tech Sergeant Thompson, you now stand relieved. We now have the watch. God bless our military servicemen and women who stand the watch today, and God bless their families who wait for their safe return. Today, our prayers are with those who have passed away while serving this great country that we will be forever in their debt. I know today's a day